Welcome to the first episode in the Purpose program, a series of 3 films designed to help you increase your sense of fulfillment by being recognized for who you are. In this episode, I'm going to help you tackle the biggest challenge you face. In the next session, I'm going to help you answer the question, who are you? And then in the 3rd episode, I'm going to help you answer the question, what do you really do with your life? For those of you who don't know me, my name is Alexander Inchbald. I'm an extreme artist, a best-selling author, a creative coach, and a keynote speaker. And today you find me in Mexico. And right behind me you can see, and at the very least hear, the Pacific Ocean. And those waves crashing on the beach. More of those waves in a minute. Wherever you are, I'm delighted you're joining me. So let's start this session with a question. On a scale of 1 to 5, how fulfilled are you right now? Where 5 is really high, you're totally fulfilled in every moment, and 1 is really unfulfilled. Take a moment to reflect on that question. Wherever you are is fine. Where you want to get to is more important. In a minute, I'm going to share a model that will help you from whatever level you're at to get all the way to the top, level 5. But before I do that, let me share a story. And as you listen to this story, which focuses on 2 key moments in my life when I was unfulfilled, without really knowing it, I want you to think about your life. When have you been unfulfilled in your life? You may not realize it at the time. It may be only much, much later that you realize how much that was a low point in your life. And then start to think, how did you overcome that? How did you overcome that challenge? What did you do? So the first moment happened when I was 16. I just painted the best painting I'd ever created, inspired by seeing a money exhibition at the National Gallery in London. And then 2 weeks later, my father came to me and said, I've spoken to your art teacher, I've spoken to your mother, and we've both come to the conclusion that you will never make money as a professional artist. I was devastated. That was my dream of going to art college, dashed in a second. I knew that without the support of my father, without the support of my mother, I wouldn't be able to fulfill that dream. So instead, I went and studied business at university, and those were the hardest years of my life. I had drinking problems and eating problems. Every morning, I would wake up, and for a split second, I thought that I was okay. And then I would remember that I had to eat, and I would panic. Acid would fill my stomach, and I would be terrified that I would have to eat in front of other people. It got so bad that I resorted to drinking at night. And then I would eat a pizza or a kebab at 3 o'clock in the morning. And so the cycle would continue. It got so low that I remember looking out of the halls of residence and looking up at the cliffs not far from where I was staying and thinking, maybe I should just end it. Maybe the simplest thing would just be to quit. But it was going to get worse. I drank so much that I ended up damaging my stomach lining. I ended up going to the doctor, and the doctor said, you need to stop drinking. So the one escape I had, which was to resort to alcohol, was taken away from me. Now I was even more terrified, and I was even more alone. And yet, even in that darkest moment, there was a voice deep inside me saying, there is something greater inside you that wants to emerge. There is something deeper that you need to bring to the world. And at that stage, I had no idea what it was. Now that story is not just about me. Each of us has that voice. Each of us has something greater than who we are that we can express in the world. At times, we think we can't hear that voice. At times, we think we're alone. And yet for me, even though I started to listen to that voice, the worst was yet to come. I lost my first job, a job that I thought I really wanted to do, in part because I wasn't creative enough. And I remember sitting outside the building where I was working and phoning my dad and crying my eyes out. What I didn't realize at the time was that the reason I'd lost my job is because I wasn't being me. I put on a suit every morning, a mask, and pretended to be somebody I wasn't. Sometimes all of us do that. So think about a moment in your life where you may have not been true to who you are. You may have not stood up for who you want to be in the world. The second moment happened 21 years later. I've left the UK and I'm now in Geneva. I'm working for a communications agency which I've helped to co-found with the former directors of Saatchi & Saatchi in Geneva. And I'm getting to work on some extraordinary campaigns on the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, all 17 of them, including sanitation. I was working for organizations like the United Nations, the World Health Organization, the International Committee of the Red Cross. I had a level of financial freedom because we'd sold the flat that we bought in London, and that had been a very, very good investment. My health was pretty good, and I thought I had meaning and fulfillment through my work. And yet there was a big gap, and that gap was my love life. In the last relationship I had before my current relationship, I remember exactly the moment when it ended. There I was, standing in this girl's apartment, and she started shouting at me. She said, "The problem with you is you're a drama queen. You are always dramatic." And I retorted, "No, you're the drama queen," and stormed out. And yet, that evening, as I reflected on the conversation, I realized that every single relationship I had ever had been with a drama queen. And the only person who'd been in all of those relationships was me. It was like looking in a mirror and not liking what I saw. And yet, I also realized that you can't change a mirror. You can't break a mirror. You can't ask the mirror to turn the other way. So I chose to work on myself. I realized that when you point one finger at another person, there are three fingers pointing back at yourself. So work I did. For the next 6 months, I went under course after course after course. And it ended in South Africa, where I faced my greatest fear of being recognized for who I am, for who I truly am. And at the same time, I articulated my personal purpose for the first time. 3 weeks later, I met Anna. 16 months after that, we got married. We conceived Sasha, our daughter, the following day. The year after that, Daniel, our son, was born. The year after that, I started to help other people articulate their personal purpose. The year after that, we started an organization to help scale that work. The year after that, I published my first book called Balance, which helps individuals, teams, and organizations to place purpose at the heart of everything they do so that they can leave a legacy for good. And now here we are this year, standing with you in front of the Pacific Ocean, hearing those waves crash again and again and again, launching a program which is designed to help not just hundreds of people, but thousands and tens of thousands of people, just like you, to lead a more fulfilling life by being recognized for who you truly are. So how can we do that? How can you do that? If you look at the research, what it says is that those who end up on their deathbed most unfulfilled say they're unfulfilled for one of two different reasons. Either they feel that they didn't fulfill their potential in the world. They didn't go out there and create the impact, put a dent in the universe, put a mark on the world which was uniquely them. Or they didn't experience unconditional love. The masculine and the feminine, the light and the dark, the yin and the yang, the head and the heart. My observation from working with hundreds of leaders all over the world is you need a balance of those first two. And then you also need these two, your health and your wealth, in order to support this area as well.